morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024 for our regular City Commission meeting. Let's start with a roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen. Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Clayton.
Present.
And Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
Wonderful. We have a lot of people here today. I want to welcome everybody. Also joining us on the social media. So we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Chris Bittner of Ottawa Community Church. Let's stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's pray. Father, thanks for this new day. Thanks for this opportunity to conduct business here today. Many important matters are set before this group. We pray for clarity. We pray for wisdom. We pray for understanding, and just help this group better chart the course for this community. And we pray in the midst of it all, we would act justly. We would love mercy, and we'd walk humbly with you as we conduct the business of today. In your name, Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. I'm just doing a little bit of study on the word wisdom, and I appreciate you included that in there because that is important. It's not the same as knowledge. Wisdom is different, and we appreciate you praying that for us today. So thank you, Chris. We need that every day. Let's start with public comments. Do we have any today?
We have none registered.
Okay, we'll go on down to item 7. We have a proclamation recognizing Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd. And this Constitution Week officially commemorates the anniversary of the creation of the world's longest-lived written Constitution. Harry Irely with the Daughters of the American Revolution will accept the proclamation, and it'll be read by Commissioner Kaler.
Good morning, everyone. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation. And whereas in 1956, at the urging of the National Society, Daughters of American Revolution, Congress set aside September 17th through 23rd annually to be dedicated for the observation of Conservation Week to emphasize every citizen's responsibility to protect and defend the Constitution, to inform the people that the Constitution is the basis for Americans' great heritage and the foundation for our way of life, and to encourage the study of historical events which led to the framing of the Constitution in September 1787, pardon me. And whereas Public Law 1915 guarantees the issuing of the proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2024, to be Constitution Week in Ottawa, Kansas, and ask our citizens to reflect upon the reaffirming ideals of the framers of the Constitution and which they had in once again, goodness. I wasn't born in 1787, but Constitution was, and the reaffirming the ideals of the framers of the Constitution that they had in 1787. Signed this the 18th day of September, 2024, by our Mayor, Michael Skidmore.
Very good. And Carrie, you here to?
Mayor and Commissioners, on behalf of the General Edward Hand Chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, I humbly and proudly accept this proclamation regarding Constitution Week. 237 years ago, September 17th, 1787, I did it too. 1787, the framers of our Constitution gathered in a room to sign a document that is still in effect today. It is the oldest document still in active use that outlines the self-government of a nation. These men selected to draft our Constitution came from various walks of life. The oldest delegate was 81, Ben Franklin, and the youngest was 26, Jonathan Dayton. Their political lives probably started very similar to yours. Neighbors and family sitting around the kitchen table or in the parlor discussing the issues affecting them at that time. The American colonists had fought, sacrificed, and died to establish a new nation. These men knew the great responsibility in front of them to craft a document that would ensure the success of the new republic and allow the republic to grow. So from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1787 to Ottawa, Kansas in 2024, our desire for self-governing and taking care of our communities and neighbors continue. Thank you for your time today and for your service to our community.
Well, thank you, Carrie. In fact, a tradition's always been the daughters that are all here. Could you come up and stand behind us? We'll get another picture, Paul. I think this is a very important day when we sometimes take for granted our Constitution, and this special day that we need to recognize this. So you want to come back behind here and we can all bunch up together here. All the commissioners see the value of
This
this,
isn't a
obviously.
camera from 1787.
Yeah, that's right. With a big flash, get ready.
Go ahead. We got room for everyone.
All right. Squeeze just one half step. There we go. All right. Take a couple here. 1, 2, 3. One more. Great.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. 1787, I can remember that. I promise you.
Yeah, that's
See
right.
you all. Good to see you.
That wouldn't make the oldest one, would it?
So good to see you. Hello. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Great. Appreciate all your work, ladies. Good job. You can stay for the meeting if you want to, but you're free to go if you want. Oh, you're good. Okay. We got the revolution to fight, so go ahead. I understand. Thank you for coming, ladies. Appreciate it again. We'll go on to item B, which is the Old Mary River Run Car Show review. I believe Chief Weingartner is going to have a few words with us and provide a review of the car show, including event logistics and public safety measures. Lost half our crowd, didn't we?
They're out doing good work.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I want to take just a few minutes today to talk about the car show weekend coming up. Just kind of talk about a few of the plans we have in place and certainly be available to answer any questions that you or the rest of the staff may have. As you know, this is our community's largest event, and because of that, requires our largest planning and response. And we begin our planning really almost the day of and day after as we review what's happening in real time on Saturday and Saturday night, and then beginning after that to work with the car club to review the car show. Schedule of events. Activities have already started in our community. People are beginning to arrive. Many of the city departments, including Public Works, Parks, Utilities, Police, Fire, have been working throughout the week to kind of set the stage and begin preparing all of the things that go on behind the scenes that the public may not see. And that stuff really goes on for most of us for months at a time, and certainly ramps up as we lead into these last couple of weeks to be prepared for that. The purpose of our plan is to provide a safe and accessible space in Forest Park and downtown during the cruise night to keep everyone who attends those events safe. As you know, Forest Park is closed down throughout the weekend to facilitate the show, and it takes about every square inch of that wonderful park to accommodate the large size of the show that's grown into. Friday night, there'll be cars will begin to arrive, and there'll be a concert in Forest Park. And then Saturday, that really begins a busy day. Cars will start lining up to enter the park pre-dawn. some at 4 a.m., some at 5 a.m. because they want to grab that spot that they want in the park every year. And what that begins to do is back up traffic, sometimes as far east as Oak Street along K68 or farther. So we begin to have staff in the park first thing in the morning to help mitigate that traffic, working with the car show volunteers, our volunteers, and then on-duty staff to help keep the management of traffic arriving. There are several locations available for car show participants to drop their trailers and unload cars, both near I-35 and K68 and at the Orlis Cox ball fields for ORC. And so what you're going to see on K68 Highway is a pretty significant, steady route of traffic as people begin to enter the park for that. Saturday afternoon, our work begins in earnest, where we start implementing traffic and parking restrictions along the cruise night route, mostly in the downtown district. We have the message board out now that'll have a message kind of broadcasting in advance the message about what restrictions are going to come. We'll begin posting social media up over the next few days as reminders to the community what they can expect for Saturday evening and Saturday afternoon, and then certainly ask for people's voluntary compliance to help us out. We do have to remove all cars from the detail area downtown before we can allow the car show participants in. Generally speaking, we end up with about 20 cars left over downtown that we have to go and find owners and remove. And most of those people are in one of our downtown businesses and just may not be aware of some of the restrictions and are really cooperative with us. It just takes a little bit of time to clear that out so we can start having cars enter downtown safely. And for us, the cruise night actually runs from 5 to 9, but our work downtown begins at 4. So as you see up here on this, the cruise night for us, it begins at 4 o'clock. Our briefing is actually about an hour earlier than that. And then we'll be down there about 3:30 in the afternoon on Saturday to start removing vehicles from downtown. Some helpful information about what happens. Again, plan ahead, drive slow, and watch all of the cars that are out there. We definitely don't want to have anyone involved in a traffic collision, especially with one of those really nice cars that somebody might bring in. That hurts. That hurts when you see that. And certainly advanced planning helps ensure for a smooth event. And the plan we've implemented has been tweaked over time, but I think it's dialed in really good to provide an adequate response to the size of crowds that we have. Registration is at the Franklin County Visitor Center. That opens up Saturday morning for people to be able to register if they have not already pre-registered. And then trailer parking and vehicle offloading, like I mentioned, is out near I-35 in what used to be the Underwoods lot, that area, and then Orlis Cox ball fields. And then cruise night, certainly cars have to straight back into the spots downtown, and then they can pull out from those spots and cruise up and down on the closed route throughout the cruise night. 2 years ago, the car club made a decision to adjust the hours of cruise night. So instead of ending at 10, it now ends at 9. So that's an hour earlier. We will, at the conclusion of the events, ask people to leave downtown, because after the cruise night's over, you have several volunteer groups that come in and clean downtown. And when I say clean downtown, they start at one end and walk in a line and pick every single piece of trash up at the conclusion of that event. And it's a great time, but we have to keep those, most of those are student groups as well. So we have to keep those youth groups safe, and we do not let traffic in until all of the cleaning is done. And we turn on all of the traffic signals back so that they can begin regulating traffic. Once that is all done, we can then break down the barricades and allow traffic to begin moving like regular on Main Street. Generally speaking, that happens between 10 and 11 o'clock on Saturday night. We can't do this without help. We have a multitude of law enforcement agencies that are up on the screen that come in and help. Most of those are providing bike patrol teams to us that will be deployed throughout the event area, just as the visible patrol responding to calls. And then certainly all of our city departments that I mentioned before, including IT, come together to provide a all-of-city response to the event. And we can't do it without our partners at the county. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office and their reserve unit provide staffing both in the park and outside the park that help us make sure we can deliver that. The Adult Detention Center, certainly we like this event without any arrests, but in case we do have some, we can't have an influx of people, so the detention center staff helps us out. Emergency management works with us throughout the entire time to come up with our incident action plan, our IAP, and of course our severe weather plan. And looking at the forecast, while severe weather is not in the forecast, we may have to make some adjustments because of some forecast weather on Saturday. EMS, fire department, police department have medical teams downtown that can respond in an immediate need, both in the park and in the cruise night. And then certainly emergency communications. We dedicate 2 dispatchers completely to the event downtown at a separate radio channel, so we can let all of the other law enforcement and emergency radio traffic operate on their usual frequencies and not interrupt any of that. And our community partners, we get some gators from Ottawa University that help us drive all of our staff downtown through that. And certainly the chamber, ORC for some of their help with equipment. Main Street, Agile Mesh is a company we work with that provides our camera system that we have installed downtown right now for the car show. That is a regional asset through our Homeland Security, Emergency Management in the state of Kansas. We are a central repository for a network of cameras that are available to about 20 different counties in Northeast Kansas. And we hold those here because we honestly use them the most for our community events. But if the request is from some of these other communities, for example, KU's graduation, something occurring in Manhattan for a K-State football game, we'll bring those cameras back out and allow those folks to set up. And then some of our other community members, Andy's Wrecker Service, they work with the car club to help us tow vehicles from downtown. And then, of course, the car club and their board of directors and all of their members are tremendous to work with. If we end up having to remove a car from downtown, that vehicle will be relocated to the Kansas State Bank North parking lot at no charge to the owner. They can contact the police department if they have any questions, and we'll have somebody that explains to them why we towed that vehicle to make sure that the car show can go on. Attached is kind of just a detail map of the area, including the route, kind of how we do that. So cars have to come out of the park, go over the K68 overpass, come in off 7th Street, and they start entering the detail area near the 7th and Hickory area. So that again creates another backup of cars as they leave the park for the show to get into downtown for the cruise night. And it just takes us about an hour and 15 minutes for that to start flowing correctly. And I just want to thank all of the city staff that's helped us along the way so far to get to this point. Look forward to the next couple days working together as we prepare for the weekend events. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding our response or anything related to the car show.
I'll be first to say that this is a well-orchestrated plan you've put together here, so I can't think anything you left out. You never know what we don't know, I know, and we live in a Plan B world sometimes, but it looks like you've made every precaution possible we come up with, so I think you've done a good job. Anybody have any questions or anything?
On there, I saw that there's 9 outside agencies. Do you have an idea how many staff they provide to us from those outside agencies that loan us officers?
Yeah, in total, we'll have between 50 and 60 law enforcement officers between our staff, the sheriff's office, and all the outside entities.
Have we heard how many cars are registered at this point, or do we know?
I have not. I have not
Curious
received
on that.
a pre-registration.
Sure.
Back in August, we were already over 500. We were close to 800 already pre-registered, so several months away. So I imagine we're closer to that 1,000 mark already.
Wow, no doubt. Good job. Anybody have more questions? We're good.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Good job. Appreciate that. We'll go on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the September 11th meeting as well as August 14th Planning Commission minutes. Do we have an approval on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
And second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. We'll go into item number 9, the declaration. This time I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Hearing none. We're going to unfinished business. Let's go to item A.
Voting delegates for League of Kansas Municipalities Annual Conference.
This item involves the selection and approval of the voting delegates to represent the city at the League of Kansas Municipalities Annual Conference. Designated delegates will have the authority to vote on behalf of the city regarding various municipal policy matters discussed during the conference. And Commissioner Reed, yeah. Clerk Weepin wrote, you demoted, maybe that's what. No, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor.
I am here this morning to chat with you about the voting delegates for the League of Kansas Municipalities Annual Conference. This is something we talk about annually. We do have to select 3 voting delegates and 1 alternative. And our due date to the league is September 20th. So we do need to decide today in order to make that requirement. As I said, each year the governing body appoints voting delegates and alternatives to represent the city of Ottawa at the league annual business meeting. It is on Saturday, October 12th from 12 to 1:15. We do need to vote for 3 voting delegates with at least 1 alternative. There's no financial impact for the consideration. And we would ask that you deliberate and give staff direction as to who you'd like to have as the voting delegates and the alternative. And I know Commissioner Crowley, last week you had some questions on who we did for 2023. The voting delegates were Crowley, Kaler, and Clayton, with Silcott being an alternative. And I show currently that everyone is registered to go, including City Manager Silcott.
Okay, well, I'd sure volunteer to be one of those delegates, and so we can need 2 more, I guess, and an alternate. Any other suggestions? Anybody else volunteer?
Commissioner. Yeah.
I was going to say, Commissioner Kaler, Clayton, do you want to maintain your positions and we'll just go with you 3?
Yeah. Since you did such a good job last time, so, all right. We can do that. And then 1 alternate.
Just keep Brian as our alternate.
Brian, that'd be good. Let's do that again. All right, fantastic. Is that a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve the 3 selected voting delegates and 1 alternate for the League of Kansas Municipalities 2024 annual business meeting.
Right. There's a second on that.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries too. We'll move on to new business. We have, right ahead.
Item A, purchase of 3-phase advanced metering infrastructure, AMI.
The request for approval to purchase 239 3-phase electric AMI meters at approximate cost of $102,740.75. We have Assistant Director Olson with us today.
Morning, Mayor, Commissioners, and fellow citizens of Ottawa. We started this project back in 2016. We are now, because of ongoing delays in metering infrastructure, instead of going with yearly purchases, we're looking at trying to do large purchases so we can maybe get this to completion. We have a recommendation is to order 239 3-phase meters, along with the ones that you approved earlier this year for single-phase residential meters. The system itself is designed to benefit us as a utility and the customers together. We look at, we can use this for our purposes for outage management, outage information. Customers' information, once we get into the customer portals and the city portals, we use it to also can use that as information for us to evaluate usages patterns between customer classes. We can use, there's currently over 4,600 meters installed. Those are 3-phase and single-phase meters. Some with new construction, we put in 3-phase meters, and in new residentials, is single-phase. So we've done the single-phase meters. Now we're working on the 3-phase meters. And then sometimes going down the road, we'll also have something called A-base meters, which is an older version of meters that were used probably back from the 1930s, 1940s, and into the 50s. That right there is a completely different process. It's not the same type of meter base. There's going to be some additional work, and we also need to look at how we, with the property owners, are going to have to deal with installing those, because each installation is going to be different. Each of them is going to be probably several $1,000s, and we have to look at how do we balance that between us as a utility and the customers, whether it be residential or commercial, on exactly how to get those done. That'll be coming in 2025. We'll come back to you with proposals at that point. Estimated, those are somewhere between 50 and 80 meters that we have in the field that are an older style meter that has to be upgraded. There is an expenditure. It's going to be an impact to us because it's going to come from the Electric Capital Project Fund that was discussed previously. Money's been evaluated and set aside to do this. And as to that, it is approved as form legally for us to be able to do that because it benefits us. Recommendations are, one, you can evaluate that, the proposal. You can take final action, or we can push that to a later date if you rather have further discussions. And so the total cost for 239 meters is approximately $103,000. But that right there should complete majority of what we need to install, three-phase up in the Northeast Industrial Park, down Main Street, and then to the South Commercial area in town. And then, or you can, like I said, you can refer that to a future meeting if today is not the time that you want to approve that. And with that, you can have discussions, or I can answer any further questions you may have.
Sure, I know it's a, well, a redone, what do you call it? We had to talk about that. An amended, what was the amended portion of that? Was that something specific to the details or what?
Exactly which particular question did you have, sir?
Was it amended? I guess it wasn't. Okay. Let's back up on that. Another question I had is, I know we've got quite a few already installed in the residential homes here.
Yes.
What percent are we complete on that, would you say?
Generally, we're complete on residential. We ordered 2,600, which would basically to finish out all the residentials, plus keep an inventory of spares on the shelf that we can use going forward for any hidden lakes. Might be the one where we put in brand new with the construction, and then along with any other future changes or future remodeling that's going on that we need to maybe upgrade the actual installation. So we're probably about 65 to 70% done with the residentials. But we do have the three-phase meters we have some that are installed, namely the new construction over the last 6 or 8 years have been with AMI type of meters. We have some up in the Northeast Industrial Park that have already been switched over. These are ones to go back and complete those that have not been done so far. So it's north end of town, down Main Street, and all the way to the south end of town. So that's where, because of the higher cost of the meters, that's been a later phase of that, but it's also one of those that we want to get done to evaluate our system performance as we go forward. Because we can gain a lot more information from these meters than you can ever get from the older electromechanicals.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. So since we're using public money on this, tell us how the people in town benefit from this, and will they know when their meter is being replaced?
As we go forward, the crews work with the property owners, and we would let them know that we're going to be doing work on their property or in the future. So they can either have questions, they can call us, we can set up a time to discuss with them. The three-phase meters, if it's on the correct meter base, is basically just pulling the old meter and putting the new one in. So it'd just be a momentary loss of power. For something that, later on with the three-phase or the AM or the A-base meters, that's going to be a longer process. That's going to require working with local electrical companies to do that switch over. And there may be some time in there that we'll have to work around with them as we go forward.
On those A-based meters, I know we're kind of waiting for full completion for the software and everything that will utilize the reporting and the views. Will we need to have all the A-based meters completed for looking at that?
And looking at how you evaluate, looking at if you provide a service to part of your citizens or your customers and you don't provide it to all, that's one of those type of things that we would come back with a presentation to try to find that proper time. Also, if you're putting it in too early and you have a lot of your customers that want to see the information, but they don't have the correct meter, then they're going to ask for it, and it's going to cause us to try to be jumping around trying to satisfy the needs of individual customers. Our ideal situation, we're going to come up to about 80-90%. We'll start looking at the software and how that's going to be presented. Many of the city employees already have it on their houses, so they'll be able to take a look at it, maybe make some from a customer perspective, and then we would roll it out to residentials and the commercial industrial customers as we get close to actual final installation. And that way everyone can view the information across the board for the most part. But that'll be another presentation as we go forward.
Okay, so probably, because if we're looking at 12 months for these, we'd be in 2026.
It'd probably be, depending on how quickly we get the meters in. Right now, the meters is about 52 weeks out from once you order them to actually receiving. And then at that point, our crews will have to get out there and actually do the installation. We currently have over 2,000 residential meters, and we're also looking at 239 commercial and industrial customers. And then in the N1 would be the actual conversion of the A-base meters. So it may be one of those that it's a gradual kind of expansion of that to the customer portals and to all the customers, and the same thing for our staff to look at it and try to make major changes or minor changes or things like that to the presentation, and maybe even get some people's perception on exactly what is the best way to present that information to the customers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any more questions, Director Olson? If not, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner,
I'll make the motion to approve item 11A.
is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. Any other discussion on this? Now let's do a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen? Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore.
And I vote yes too. That motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Next, we have item B.
Amended agreement with Kansas Gas Service for base grant.
See, there's that word amended. See if I'd help if I showed at the rehearsals. I know I got to work on that, so I'll try to do better next time. Assistant Director McCurdy will present the amended agreement with Kansas Gas Service regarding the base grant.
All right.
Rebecca, go ahead.
And I'm here today to talk about the amended and restated gas installation agreement with Kansas Gas Service in the amount of $1,463,398.33. Just as a little background on this agreement, in 2022, the City of Ottawa was awarded a $5 million Building a Stronger Economy grant, which I will henceforth be calling base grant, to do 3 projects: an elevated water storage tank and pump station out on Proximity Park. The pump station was then switched for pump upgrades at the actual water plant because we determined that would be a more efficient and better use of those funds because it will impact our entire water utility versus just a section. A gas line extension, which is what this agreement is related to, and then a lift station out on the North Corridor. The extension of the gas line was an essential last extension for utilities out to Proximity Park for new development. And then the service line actually stretches from the corner of Montana and Kingman Road, runs down Kingman, over across Highway 59, up to 23rd, and then from 23rd out to Eisenhower, where it connects to where the line was previously already installed. The update to this agreement, the amended portion, is actually just to align project estimated costs with actual costs. So the project is completed and it did come in under the estimation. As you see there, just shy of $260,000 in savings. So the split between Kansas Gas and the City of Ottawa remains the same. It's 25% Kansas Gas, 75% City of Ottawa. And so I've just outlined the split of the costs there. So most of this agreement and today is the financial considerations. So the city's portion of this project is $1,097,548.75, or 75% of the total project. I did estimate the breakdown between grant funds and city funding just for transparency. So we have already transferred in from the Proximity Park Sales Tax Fund to the base grant fund, $325,000. And so that's the true city cash portion. And then the difference will be base grant funds, just for everyone to have a clear picture of exactly where the funds came from. And both the original and the restated agreement have been reviewed by our city attorney. And we do recommend that you approve this amended. It's, like I said, the only difference is the updating the project costs from the estimated to the actual, because they are completed. And for that, I will stand for questions.
That's good. Anybody have any questions? I did have one, the 75-25 split with Kansas Gas. Is that typical with municipalities and then Kansas Gas, or do you know?
I don't know that. I do know that, I mean, we did have discussions with them before writing the original agreement, and that was the agreement we came upon when we entered into the base grant. because obviously we couldn't do a project without
Yeah.
their assistance. So
Definitely right there.
And there is a rebate portion that will take effect over time when
Okay.
we begin to see tenants in days.
Well, it certainly is an asset we needed that go in that direction anyway, so I'm glad we got it put in place. And looks like our actual net cost as far as the sales tax only is $325,000. The rest of the money was Kansas Gas along with the base grant, so that was a good thing for us too, I guess. So good.
Yeah.
Anybody have any more questions? If not, I entertain a motion on item B.
I'll make the motion to approve item 11B.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any other discussion? Let's do a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen? Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
And I vote yes too. That motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Good
Thank
job.
you.
On to item C.
Ordinance for preliminary planned unit development at 901 South Cherry.
This ordinance approves the preliminary planned unit development at 901 South Cherry Street, allowing the applicant to move forward with the final PUD to allow for the development of a duplex project with 30 homes at the property. We have Planner Martin with us today. Go right ahead, Planner.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. So as you stated, this is an application for a PUD that will be called Cherry Creek, located at 901 South Cherry Street. This application was heard at the July 25th Planning Commission public hearing with notice provided to the surrounding property owners back in June. With that notice, there were no comments received in opposition or in favor. There we go. So here we can see the area in question. It is currently an undeveloped 5-acre tract zoned R2 HOO and is surrounded by existing residential uses and zoning districts with access to existing utilities and infrastructure as shown on the screen. So the purpose of this PUD is to allow for the development of the property as one lot following the approval and recording of the approved plat. They are in the middle of that plat process right now. The proposed PUD would consist of 30 dwelling units within 15 buildings organized around a central drive connecting East 9th and 10th Streets, and it is divided into 2 phases. Sorry, I'm trying to get that to work. The entire project is shown on this screen on the left-hand side, and phase 1 is shown in a bit more detail on the right-hand side. So you can see that the entire PUD does, again, consist of several dwelling units organized around that central drive. In this image, Cherry Street is to the left, and East 9th Street is up top. So here we have some images of the proposed structures themselves. They are definitely of a unique style and fairly modern. And the facades of these phase 1 and these particular items face Cherry Street, and they do not have drives. This was part of a general discussion of the orientation and layout of the buildings that resulted from conversations with the developer and reflects a change from the previous proposal of apartments at the location, and just a general acknowledgement of the residential character and nature of the neighborhood, which does consist primarily of stick-built homes, a bit older, or mobile homes to the north, just a variety of different housing styles over there as it is. Here we have another image straight on of the proposed structure. Again, given that this is preliminary, there is potential for some changes in the architectural features, but this is the general style that the applicant is working towards achieving with this project. And this does serve as a unique opportunity to provide additional housing opportunities to the wider community and maximize one of the larger vacant residential lots within Ottawa. And if approved, the applicant would move on to the final PUD process, which would return for final approval by the City Commission. There were no financial or legal concerns with this application. And based on staff review and the recommendation of the Planning Commission, it is recommended that the City Commission take action at today's regular meeting to approve the ordinance for the preliminary planned unit development located at 901 South Cherry Street.
Anybody have questions of Zach? I will say, I know the previous plan, maybe it was 2 years ago, we had quite a few neighbors that did bring some concerns, but we had none this time.
We did not.
Maybe it was enough of a different design, or they left enough trees there perhaps to satisfy the people in the neighborhood, but this looks like a nice plan. I appreciate too the preserving a lot of trees, it looks like, along, is that Cherry Street? I know they got to take some out, but it looks like many of those are being preserved. I appreciate that too. There was one concern about the stormwater report or engineer's report. I think they requested it not to be completed. I don't know if that involved the red tinted area along the intersection of Cherry and 10th, maybe.
I believe that is kind of the general area. We are in discussions, my office and the city engineer, working on the stormwater aspect of it. So that is something that's being addressed within the final plat and the final PUD documents.
Okay, sure, I understand. And then as long as they understand the risk, then that gets free. That's a good way to look at it. But anyway, yeah, unusual design. I like that. It is a little bit different from the rest of the neighborhood, but I think I like the design. I like the road coming in from 9th Street, and I think that's a good plan for us. But I'm assuming the university would like to see this happen as well as they grow in their numbers too. So having some close proximity, but it's not just for students, it'd be for anybody, right? It's not going to be any kind of a restriction.
I believe it is targeted towards university students. I think over time that may change as the market demands.
See where it goes. Good.
But it's a trickle-down effect because there are students renting other houses now. So once you open up housing for students like that, then it opens up houses for other residents.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right, Commissioner.
And Zach, on that, is that basically thoroughfare considered a public street? Is that a parking lot that will kind of cut through the parcel?
We're considering it a drive with parking.
Okay.
So
it's
based
like
on our
maintenance
last
would still
discussion.
be private. It wouldn't be anything like our road crews would take over.
Yes, it would not be a public street.
Okay.
Any more questions anybody have?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve item 11C on our agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? If not, let's take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Allen? Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
And I vote yes too. That motion carries. So please pass on to the developers our appreciation for their investment in our community too. So that's very good. Good news to see. I like that. Let's move on to our comments by city manager.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. Just want to give you a thank you to everyone that's turned out, both for the sprucing up of Legacy Square that occurred recently, and that was spearheaded by our Public Works Department, who has done the bulk of the preparations for welcoming the visitors here for Power of the Past and for the car show that Chief provided the rundown on all of the preparation just on their end, and the coordination and cooperation of not only city staff, but the folks in and around our community and even regionally with whom we're always eager to assist in their time of need, as they often are here for us in our time of need. So that's always wonderful. And kind of keeping the car theme rolling here, there'll be the Bop Daddies on September 20th at 6:30 at Forest Park. And so if you're into Big Bopper, classic rock, this will be just the event for you. And so we hope individuals can turn out and bring their lawn chairs and enjoy the music, and hopefully the weather cooperates. Our accessibility committee is having a Bolorama fundraiser, so the Rollin' and Bowlin' for the benefit of Spina Bifida Foundation, and that'll be at Fusion Alley on September 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you're interested in turning out, please do so. And you'll see more of this on our social media platforms, and so you can just follow that link directly as well. And then want to congratulate Officer Caleb Savage for completing his FTO and hitting the streets with his compatriots at our police department. And with that, we have a tentative agenda for next week, which will be monthly reports from our community partners, an active project review. We'll have our finance report. We'll have an overview of our winter assistance program, and we'll also be presenting the JPM agreement amendment, which is it formalizes the December 30th, 2024 termination for that management for the city to assume operation of that. And we are already working for filling those spots and equipment purchases. And I want to thank Director Landis and her team for helping with coordinating all of those resources. And then we'll also have a discussion on policy structure for our HID incentives, as we anticipate having a request coming down the pipe, and our current policy doesn't take into account the recent changes to the statutes. Plus, also, it allows for a 25-year request, and we want to make sure that whatever window that the commission would like to see there, that we reflect that in our policies, as well as the participation amount. And finally, we'll get to the commission chambers modernization. So we'll be presenting a design selection for your consideration following the RFQ. And then we'll also have a brief overview on a multi-step process that we can follow up at the following meeting. But we'll give you some revenue scenarios for a 3%, 4%, 5%, and 6% transient guest tax that can, and what all that can be used for at that point in time. And that will allow us time for consideration, so that if you do want to proceed, that requires a charter ordinance. That charter ordinance can then be enacted. There's a 60-day protest period, at which time, if no protest is filed, the ordinance then takes effect. And we also at that time then notify Department of Revenue. So it gives us enough lead time that we should be able to begin collections on or around the first of the year, if that's the desire that you would like to see us go. And with that, that concludes my report. If there are no further questions at this time of myself or anyone on the team. All righty.
That's good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Brian. Let's go on to comments by the city commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Crowley.
I have none.
Commissioner Kaler.
None at this time.
And Commissioner Clayton.
I guess just again, I'd like to say, obviously being Commission Week, as Americans, we're all fortunate to be in America. And the commission, not the commission, not us. The Constitution is widely regarded as the greatest legal document of all time crafted. 27 amendments and 7 articles. I think that's just something great, something that all of us as Americans should, regardless of political affiliation, anything like that, we should be proud to be beneath that. This past week, I was able to go to the STAG Award, where Commissioner Kaler presented, and it was really cool to see. We kind of talked about it previously. Everyone has kind of niches that they're in, and the people who are in that niche, the mechanical engineering aspect of that, it was really cool to see their passion for something that we have here in Ottawa, and some cool opportunities for the future for that. That's all.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, just a couple things too. The Legacy Square dedication or rededication, I call it the 5-year anniversary. It's just hard to believe it's been 5 years since we've had that. Lonnie King was there, and his wife Carol King, not the Carol King, but Carol King nonetheless. But I appreciate they were there too, because they made a significant investment in that project. I appreciate so much they're providing many jobs here in town, and along with that, they saw the need for this to be Legacy Square to be built, and made a significant in-kind donation to make it happen. So we really appreciate Fashion Inc. and the King family and their dedication and devotion to our community. So I just wanted to put that out there. Also, good. I appreciate the cleanup in our community. I don't know if we've done that in the past. That's a great idea. I just still say the first impressions you can't get a second time. And in case in point, a neighbor down the street I've mentioned before moved here from Oregon, and what convinced him to come here was the car show when he came to visit a couple years ago. And I'm thinking, you never know who's watching our community and may want to move here, and they seem to be very happy here so far. So I appreciate them being in our community. Announcements. We got the September 25th, preparing for Panasonic, an informal luncheon at OU. September 25th, also a city commission meeting at 4 o'clock. And then we've got our October 2nd commission meeting at 7 p.m. If there's nothing